last year, we were focused on kind of figuring out exactly what we were going to spend our time on. And after BlizzCon, we were able to kind of get those priorities set up and figure out what we wanted to do. We thought we were going to redo kind of maybe a medium number of zones from the game. We ended up redoing every zone in the game instead of just a small number. So that ended up taking up more time. But we think it was time well spent, because looking at the Worgen and the Goblin, we know so many people are going to go through all that stuff again. But recently, probably these last 6 months or so, we've been really focused on finishing up the new level 80 to 85 zones. I think the time that we ended up spending was split pretty evenly. Initially, we thought we would spend much less time on the old world, and that a mass majority of our time would go to the new 80 to 85 zones. Over the course of development, that ended up not being true, and we spent much more time on the 0 to 60 zones. But I think that's just because of the fact that people are so into those areas. No one wanted to leave them behind. If you take a zone like we had done the Barrens really early on, and we showed it at BlizzCon last year. So then we moved on to Thousand Needles, and we're like, well, we can't not do as much here, and then you move on, to Tenaris, and you have that same situation. So we ended up spending so much more time there than we had thought. But I think we've been able to balance it. Because when players get level 80, they're going to want to make sure that those experiences feel completely new, just like Northrend did, just like Burning Crusade. So I think something we knew is that if this game was going to continue on like the way we want to see it, we want to continue to see it grow. We want to keep players that we've had, but also pull in new players. The only way to do that was to go back and kind of, really give everything that once over and make sure that it felt great. So it was definitely something that we knew we wanted to do from the beginning. Kind of saw this whole upheaval and Cataclysm and getting a fresh start and everything as a chance to get in there and kind of reset the talent trees and reset what players think about them and how they work. So I think definitely we kind of were worried up front, but the reaction's been great. Now that people are able to get into the trees and get a feeling for them and see that talents now are worth a lot more. You see a lot less of those, oh, this is 1% damage, this is 2% crit. We're trying to get a lot more active talents. Knowing now that you don't get a talent point every level, it feels a little different. So when you do get a talent point, you really want it to mean something. The flexible raid lock system that we've just introduced for Cataclysm is something that we probably would have loved to have when we actually shipped Northrend, to give players that ability to kill a boss and have it be saved on them individually. They can join another group. They can do 10 or 25 at any time, not feel like, oh, since I'm doing 10, I can't do 25. It's just something I think that makes the game feel a lot better for so many more players. But looking back, that's something, if we would have been able to have that at launch, it would have been great. The beta could be a year long, and I don't think people would see everything that we have. There's so much in the new guild system. It's probably our biggest premier new feature for players that they're going to get, and it's hard to experience that on a beta. And even besides that, there's so many things in zones that have changed that we're not going to document every single little thing, but I bet you there's going to be a quest that you really liked. You're going to go back and it's going to be tweaked somehow to have something new. It might even have a phase. We added phases to tons of old quests that, we didn't want to take them out, but we wanted to make them better. But so much of that stuff I think people are just going to see when they get into the game and actually start playing it. I'm super excited for players to play Cataclysm when it comes out on December 7th.